My boss pressed a cold metal key into my palm and whispered, "Stay. No one will believe you anyway." His wife was standing 20 feet away, champagne flute in hand, smiling for the cameras. NNTHAT moment is burned into me. The key, heavy and sharp in my hand, felt like a line I hadn't agreed to cross but suddenly carried the weight of. What if his wife already knew? What if everyone knew? And I'm 28, living in a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan that costs way too much for what it is. I work as a personal assistant for the CEO of a massive tech company. Let's call him Alex. My job is a mix of scheduling chaos, chasing down signatures, booking last-minute flights, and sometimes babysitting million-dollar egos. I'm good at it. Too good, maybe, because I've become the one he leans on. And that's where the danger starts. I never planned on being this close to power. Honestly, I just wanted stability. After my breakup last year, I threw myself into work because being busy felt safer than being alone. I told myself the overtime, the constant travel, the nights spent triple-checking itineraries. It was just career hustle. But looking back, maybe I was running from the emptiness in my own apartment. When the company announced the annual corporate retreat would be in Monaco, I thought it would just be another exhausting trip. Sunsets I'd watch from my laptop screen while fixing decks. Team dinners where I'd sit at the far end, invisible. I never imagined it would turn into the moment that nearly wrecked me. NNTHE first night in Monaco. We had cocktails on a hotel terrace overlooking the French Riviera. The air smelled like salt and jasmine, and the golden light made everything look like a movie scene. People were laughing, toasting, trying to forget the cutthroat reality of our jobs. I was in a simple dress I'd bought on sale at Zara, trying not to stand out. That's when Alex noticed me. NNHE made a comment about my dress. Elegant, unexpected, that wasn't just about fashion. His hand brushed mine when our glasses clinked, lingering too long. I pulled back, awkwardly. He chuckled, low, and said, "Lighten up, it's a celebration." Everyone else was too busy laughing at some VP's joke to notice the shift in his tone. But I noticed. NNTHE next morning, we all gathered for breakfast in the hotel cafe. Sunlight bounced off the harbor, and the smell of coffee and fresh croissants filled the air. Alex stood up, booming voice commanding the room. "Team, I've got a surprise. A yacht excursion this afternoon, my treat." Laughter and claps followed, but his eyes locked on me for a beat too long. And then, the public crack in the mask. And on the yacht, with about 20 colleagues milling around, Alex clinked his glass to get attention. "This boat isn't just a boat, it's a symbol of what we've built. And today, anyone who wants can take it out for a spin later." People laughed, shouted jokes about crashing it. Then he added, with that same lingering gaze, "You especially, you've earned it." Any Ains. Not laughter this time, heads turned. I felt the champagne sweating in my hand, cold against my skin. Elena, his wife, was right there, sipping her drink, her smile tightening for a second. NNTHAT was the first time I realized this wasn't about me being special. It was about him testing control, seeing how far he could push boundaries in plain sight. Later that evening, when the group drifted toward the music and food, Alex found me near the stern. The hum of voices was distant, the waves slapping against the hull louder in the quiet. He pressed the yacht key into my hand. The metal was cool, unforgiving. "Stay after everyone leaves," he whispered, breath hot against my ear. "This is for your own good. You deserve a break." NMY skin crawled. The phrase hit like a toxin. For my own good? As if crossing that line would be some kind of reward. And I didn't stay. I mumbled something about a headache, shoved the key into my purse, and escaped back to the hotel. The elevator ride felt endless, the fluorescent lights harsh, buzzing. In my room, I sat on the bed and turned the key over in my hands. Its edges dug into my palm like a punishment for even holding it. NNHI's other words rang louder in my head. "No one will believe you." NNTHAT night, I barely slept. The Mediterranean breeze outside should have been soothing, but every sound, the clink of glasses, the hum of distant laughter, felt like a warning. I didn't know yet that the key wasn't just a symbol of temptation. It would become evidence, NNBUT in that moment. All I felt was the crushing weight of silence. The next day, I carried that yacht key in my purse like a live grenade. It felt heavier than my laptop, heavier than the weight of every schedule I'd ever managed. Every time my hand brushed against it, the cool metal made my stomach turn. Alex acted like nothing had happened. He breezed through the morning strategy session, cracking jokes, flashing that CEO charm that had investors eating out of his hand. But when his eyes flicked to me across the conference table, the words replayed in my head. No one will believe you. Was it a warning? A dare? NNTHAT night. We had a formal dinner at a cliffside restaurant overlooking Monaco's harbor. The air smelled like grilled fish and jasmine, the clinking of wine glasses blending with the low hum of conversations. I was seated near the end of the table, far from Alex, but distance didn't matter. His gaze found me anyway. Elena was across from him, her smile poised, her diamond earrings catching the candlelight. I swear she knew. Or maybe she'd known for a long time. During dessert, Alex stood, glass in hand, ready for another toast. His voice carried effortlessly. This team is the backbone of everything we've built. And some of you go above and beyond, like my assistant, who's been an incredible asset. An applause followed, but it didn't feel like praise. It felt like exposure. The room's candlelight flickered, casting long shadows, and Elena's eyes narrowed just enough for me to see. My cheeks burned, and the sugar from the tiramisu on my plate turned bitter in my mouth. After dinner, I stepped outside for air. The night breeze was cool, carrying the salty tang of the sea. For a moment, I thought I was alone. Then Alex appeared, 2 champagne flutes in hand. His smile was too easy. "You didn't take me up on the yacht offer," he said. His voice was light, but there was steel underneath. He handed me the glass, his fingers brushing mine. "You're too sensitive sometimes. This could be good for your career." NNTHE, second toxic phrase. Delivered like advice. Like a gift, and I pulled back, champagne sloshing against the rim. The glass was icy in my hand, grounding me. I muttered an excuse and walked away, heels clicking against the stone path, each step a beat of my resolve. NNTHE next morning. In the hotel lobby, I was hunched over my laptop, updating schedules, when I heard a voice that froze me. Elena's. She was near the concierge desk, speaking low but sharp into her phone. "He's done this before," she said. "She's just the latest." NMY pulse hammered. She didn't see me, didn't know I was close enough to hear. An instinct took over. I discreetly tapped record on my phone, slipping it under my notebook. Elena's words came out like daggers. A mention of another woman, Rachel, a colleague who had been dealt with after getting too close to Alex. The hotel's floral arrangement on the desk smelled cloyingly sweet, making me nauseous. I realized I wasn't the first, and unless I acted, I wouldn't be the last. NNTHAT night. I couldn't keep it to myself. I texted Sarah, a junior HR representative I'd bonded with during late nights at the office. We met at the hotel cafe, tucked into a corner booth. The clatter of dishes and chatter around us gave us cover. I slid my phone across the table, playing the recording. My hands shook as I pulled the yacht key from my purse, laying it between us like evidence. And Sarah's eyes widened, then softened. "I've heard rumors," she whispered. "He's untouchable. But HR's been watching him. This might be enough." NTHE sunlight streaming through the window caught the key's surface, making it glint like a warning. For the first time, I felt something besides fear. I felt possibility. And back in my room that night, I placed the key on the nightstand. The edges dug into the wood, a reminder that my choices carried weight. I lay awake, listening to the waves crashing distantly against the harbor walls. I knew I had 2 options. Stay silent, keep my job, swallow the poison, or act, knowing it might cost me everything. When the moonlight hit the key, turning it silver against the dark, I knew my answer. I wasn't going to be another Rachel. Back in New York, the key traveled with me like a curse. I wrapped it in tissue paper and tucked it in a drawer, but every time I opened it, the metal seemed to glint accusingly. I couldn't throw it away, not yet. It wasn't just a souvenir. It was evidence. At work, Alex was the same polished CEO everyone adored. In meetings, he cracked jokes, threw compliments around, made the team feel like family. But when his eyes landed on me, I felt the same chill I'd felt in Monaco. His words haunted me. "No one will believe you." I wasn't sure if he meant the board, the employees, or even myself. And I started collecting everything. I archived every email he sent, no matter how banal. I screenshotted the late-night texts, "You're missed at the after party. We should talk, just us." Vague enough to be dismissed, but suggestive enough to sting. The glow of my laptop in my tiny Manhattan apartment cast shadows across the walls as I worked, night after night. I couldn't sleep, so I documented instead. And I met Sarah again, this time at a diner in Brooklyn. The smell of greasy fries and strong coffee filled the air, the clatter of plates giving us privacy. I slid her a USB stick with the recordings and screenshots. Her eyes darted around nervously before she pocketed it. "This could cost you everything," she warned. I nodded, my coffee mug warm between my hands. "So be it," I said, though my stomach churned at the words. NNTHE escalation came faster than I expected. At a company-wide meeting in our Manhattan office, Alex stood at the front, presenting quarterly results to 200 employees in person and hundreds more on Zoom. His face loomed large on the projection screen, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. He was in his element, charming, confident, untouchable. Then came the Q&A. A colleague asked about the Monaco trip, laughing about team perks. Alex smirked. "Some people don't know how to take a gift," he said, eyes cutting to me in the back row. The room chuckled. My chest burned. NNTHE humiliation was public. The champagne clink on that yacht echoed in my head. Only this time, it was replaced by the sound of 200 employees laughing at my expense. After the meeting, my phone buzzed. It was Sarah. "HR has the recording. They're moving forward." She followed with another message, an old email Rachel had written before she was pushed out, hinting at inappropriate boundaries with Alex. Together, they painted a damning picture. NNTWO days later, Karen, a senior HR manager, asked me to meet in her office. The city's honking traffic filtered faintly through the glass walls as I sat down. The leather chair was cold, grounding me as I slid the evidence across her desk. Screenshots, the USB, even a photo of the key. And Karen's face didn't change. She listened quietly, nodding at intervals. When I finished, she leaned forward. "We'll handle this, discreetly. But you need to be careful. He still has allies." Walking out of that office, I felt both relief and terror. Relief that I wasn't alone anymore. Terror that Alex would retaliate before HR could act. The office hum, printers churning, phones ringing, sounded different now, sharper, like every noise carried a warning. NNTHAT week, I began applying for new jobs. Late nights in my apartment, the bitter smell of my coffee filling the air, I scrolled LinkedIn, sending out resumes to tech firms in California. Each application felt like a lifeline, an escape route. But every morning, when I opened my inbox, I half expected to see a termination notice. Then, on a Thursday evening, Sarah called. Her voice trembled with urgency. "They're taking it to the board tomorrow. Alex doesn't know yet." I hung up and stared at the key on my nightstand. The edges dug into my palm as I picked it up, sharp enough to sting. He thought it was a token of control. But now, it was my countermove, NNFOR, the first time in months. I felt something like power. The weekend before the board meeting, I barely slept. My apartment felt claustrophobic, the hum of the radiator filling the silence like a clock ticking down. The key sat on my nightstand, catching the glow of the streetlights outside, a sharp reminder of the line I had refused to cross. I kept picking it up and setting it down again, the metal cool against my skin, as if daring me to see this through. On Monday night, I met Sarah at a dimly lit bar in Lower Manhattan. The smell of whiskey and leather hung in the air, mingling with faint jazz from the speakers. She slid a folder across the table, printed emails from Rachel, detailing Alex's late-night messages and subtle threats before she was pushed out. My stomach turned as I read her words, so eerily similar to my own experience. "This is dynamite," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible over the clink of glasses. "But be careful. He's got friends on the board." NNTHE next day, the board meeting started without me, but I felt its weight in every vibration of my phone. I sat in my cubicle, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, refreshing my inbox compulsively. Every new email made my pulse jump. Around noon, Sarah texted, "They're reviewing everything now. Elena's here." My stomach dropped. I pictured Elena's sharp gaze from the yacht, her polite smile hiding anger, now fixed on the board. She had always seemed like part of his performance, but her presence meant something had shifted. Maybe she was finally done covering for him. NNTHE office felt frozen. Colleagues whispered by the coffee machine, their voices a murmur beneath the hum of the air conditioner. I couldn't focus on the spreadsheets in front of me. Then, finally, Sarah called. Her voice was breathless. "He's out. The board voted. Effective immediately." And I gripped the phone so tightly it hurt. Relief surged through me, followed by a dizzying wave of fear. If Alex had been untouchable for years, what would he do now that his power was stripped away? NNTHE New York Post ran the story the very next morning. Tech Titan falls amid scandal. The headline glared at me from my phone, the blue glow stark in my dark apartment. The article mentioned multiple complaints and inappropriate conduct. My name wasn't there, thank God, but I knew my evidence had been the spark. NNTHAT night, just as I was beginning to breathe again, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You'll regret this." And my blood ran cold. I stared at the words, glowing menacingly on my screen. It could only be him. My hands shook as I forwarded the message to Karen in HR. Within minutes, she replied, "Thank you. We'll escalate." NNTHE. Next day, Alex was escorted out of the building. His access badge revoked, his office locked. I didn't see it happen, but the whispers in the break room told me enough. Coffee cups clinked like punctuation as colleagues speculated. Some said they'd suspected all along. Others acted shocked. Nobody mentioned my name. NNTHAT evening. I sat on my couch, the city's honking traffic a muted backdrop, and stared at the key one last time. Its edges still sharp, its weight still heavy. But it no longer felt like evidence. It felt like closure. I dropped it into a cardboard box of donations, along with the champagne flute I'd smuggled back from Monaco. The sound of packing tape ripping across the box was final, like sealing away a chapter of my life I never wanted to reread. A week later, I accepted a new job offer in San Francisco. Smaller company, smaller paycheck, but a culture that promised transparency. The idea of leaving New York's glitter and chaos for the fog and quiet of the West Coast felt like oxygen. As I packed my suitcase, I thought about Alex's last words to me. "You're too sensitive. No one will believe you." He'd been wrong on both counts. NNFOR the first time in months. I felt free. San Francisco felt like a different planet. The fog rolled in every morning, damp and heavy, carrying the faint scent of eucalyptus from the parks. My new apartment was small but bright, with a crooked view of the Golden Gate Bridge on clear days. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe without waiting for the other shoe to drop. NNTHE job was nothing like my old one. No private jets, no yacht excursions, no champagne toasts under a Mediterranean sunset. Instead, there were open-plan desks covered in sticky notes, plants everywhere, and the comforting smell of coffee brewing non-stop. My colleagues talked about deadlines and dogs, not boardroom power plays. The absence of Alex's shadow was its own kind of luxury. Still, the past followed me. For weeks, every phone notification made my heart race. I half expected another anonymous text, a LinkedIn message from one of Alex's loyalists, or a headline that dragged my name into the story. But it never came. What came instead were whispers from afar. Sarah called one night, her kids laughing in the background, to tell me Alex had tried spinning the scandal as a smear campaign. The board wasn't buying it. Neither was the press. A second article dropped in Forbes, bluntly labeling his leadership toxic. Reading it on my phone, the glow stark in my dark apartment, I felt a complicated mix. Relief, vindication, unease. His fall was public and humiliating. But I hadn't wanted spectacle. I'd wanted freedom. The clinking of champagne glasses on that yacht, once a symbol of his arrogance, now echoed only as the sound of his empire cracking. Milena filed for divorce, the tabloids said. A grainy photo surfaced of her at a charity gala in Paris, smiling that same tight smile I remembered from Monaco. I stared at the image longer than I meant to, wondering if she felt freer now, or just lonelier. Her pain had been collateral damage in Alex's game. In a strange way, she'd been another victim. And I started running again. Mornings along the bay, foghorns low in the distance, gravel crunching under my sneakers. The rhythm steadied me. One morning, my phone buzzed with a LinkedIn message from Rachel, the colleague Elena had once mentioned. "Thank you," she wrote. "You gave me my voice back." The phone felt heavy in my hand, her words heavier still. I replied briefly, but inside, something loosened. Maybe this wasn't just about me. Therapy helped too. My therapist's office was warm, the faint hum of a desk fan filling the silences I'd been afraid to face. One session, she looked at me and said, "You didn't cause the chaos, you exposed it." The words landed like a lock, clicking shut. For months, I'd carried guilt. For the scandal, the headlines, the jobs lost. But it wasn't mine to carry. His actions had caused it. Mine had ended it, and I thought often about Alex's favorite lines. "No one will believe you. You're too sensitive." Gaslighting dressed up as guidance. For a long time, I let those words shape my reality. Now they were just echoes. I had believed myself, and that had been enough. And then life in San Francisco was quieter, simpler. Dinner with friends instead of boardroom banquets. Coffee mugs clinking instead of champagne flutes. A boss who respected boundaries instead of testing them. The symbols that haunted me, the yacht key, the champagne glass, were gone, left behind in a donation box. In their place were new ones. A pair of running shoes by my door, a row of plants thriving in the foggy light of my apartment. Sometimes, late at night, the memories came back. The yacht rocking under the weight of too many secrets. Elena's sharp gaze across the deck. The cold press of a key into my palm. I wondered how many others, in offices and conferences and retreats across the world, were holding their own keys, afraid to say, "None, NSO." I'm asking you, what would you have done? If your boss handed you a key, whispered promises wrapped in threats, and told you no one would ever believe you, would you stay silent to keep the job, or risk it all to stand your ground? I know the choice I made. But I want to know yours.